All right, we are live here talking about selling shoes on Amazon. I'm really excited that you're here hanging out with us today. We're going to talk about how you can make big profits selling shoes on Amazon. I'm here with my wife, Rebecca. We're excited to talk to you about this tonight. And as always, with all of our webinars, if you have any questions, please be sure to put that in the comments section. We will answer at the end of the webinar all the questions pertaining to selling shoes on Amazon. We'll answer that at the end of the presentation. But we also have a giveaway. We're going to give away a copy of our course, The Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes. So please stick around to the end so you can have a chance to win live. And if you're watching this on the replay, this is a good reason why you should join our webinars live, because we do giveaways every once in a while, and we want to help you win stuff for free. But anyway, let's jump right into selling shoes on Amazon. And just like, who are we? Why should you even trust us? Well, my name is Stephen Smotherman. Again, that's my wife, Rebecca. And this is a picture of me and our boys. We've got Luke, Drew, and Peter. Our oldest is grown. And so, you know, I've got 4 boys total, 3 boys here with my wife. We went to Grand Canyon last summer. It was an awesome trip.
Really awesome.
And what the cool thing about it was, just because we sell FBA, the sales kept coming in. We got to take like a week off of vacation and tour all around Grand Canyon and a bunch of other places, and it was awesome. And so we just love FBA for one of those reasons, because we can still see the sales come in. But a little bit about me: I started selling online back in 1998 on eBay, and I got addicted to buying stuff on eBay and then ran out of money and had to get addicted to selling stuff on eBay. So I did that for a while. It was a nice little hobby here and there for about a decade or so. But in 2011, I found myself unemployed, freshly divorced, trying to find a way to support me and my 4 boys, and I discovered Amazon FBA in 2011. I started selling on Amazon, and within 6 or 7 months, I was starting to make a full-time income. In fact, in 2012, I got awarded by Amazon the Top Holiday Seller Award for 2012, and that is for those who have sold in the top 25% of all Amazon sellers and maintained a A+ customer satisfaction rating during Q4 of selling on Amazon. Now, 2012 was the last year that they did this, so but I'm really proud of it, and it's you know, it's pretty awesome, just the possibilities, how someone can start from nothing and make it to in the top 25% of all Amazon sellers in about a year. And in 2013, I married Rebecca. She became an amazing stepmom and also joined selling online with me. And at first, you know, I tried to take you to a bunch of garage sales, and you were like, you're not buying all the cool stuff. She started getting into online arbitrage and really enjoyed online arbitrage. I did retail arbitrage, and then recently I've done wholesale. But also in 2013, my wife encouraged me, which she's an incredible encouragement to me, but she encouraged me to start fulltimefba.com. She's saying, you're on Facebook answering all these questions. You need to start a blog. You need a platform to help people. And I'm really glad that she did. So if you go to fulltimefba.com, you can follow us there, subscribe, and get a bunch of freebies. In fact, a freebie that I want to make sure you get today is a book, free ebook just for you, just for showing up today. fulltimefba.com/seller central tips. This is an ebook that breaks down reimbursements, refunds, how to correct possible Amazon glitches, and it's been recently updated, and so all the information in there is up to date. And it's my gift to you. Both Rebecca and I put this together to help walk you through different Amazon glitches, because sometimes Amazon is
they forget things.
Yeah, we forgot to reimburse you. Oh, so you know, we want to make sure you get all those reimbursements and a bunch of other things as well. So if you showed up here tonight, I want to make sure you are in the right place. We're talking about shoes tonight, and if you are an Amazon seller who can't seem to make more money on Amazon, no matter how hard you try, this is the place for you to be. If you wish you could increase your Amazon sales to be so much larger than they are right now, you're in the right place. And if you've heard about the profits that you can make selling shoes, but you're not sure if shoes is right for you, then you're in the right place. We'll make sure that you understand that. And if you know that the more items you sell on Amazon, the more money you can make, so you want to learn shoes to increase your overall profits, then you are in the right place. Now, a little bit about our experience from selling shoes. As I go to this, I'm going to take Rebecca and I off screen, and we'll be back a little bit later. So we're going to say goodbye, but I want to walk you through, we'll see you later, walk you through our experience selling shoes on Amazon. And so We started off sometime in
late 2015.
Yeah, late 2015. We learned a lot. We made a lot of mistakes. We earned a lot of money. We were able to learn a lot and earn a lot, but then we were also realizing that the mistakes that we made, we wanted to make sure that we learn from them. And so when it comes to our experience with selling on Amazon, we really do have a passion for selling shoes online. We tried it out for a while. We almost quit. We almost decided to stop and not do it at all, but we pressed through some of the early struggles and were able to really find success in the long run. And in less than 1 year when we started, shoes became our largest source of revenue for our Amazon FBA business. And if you know the name of our blog, fulltimefba.com, we make a full-time living only spending part-time hours. And one of the reasons why and is because we sell shoes on Amazon. And in fact, in 2017, over 50% of our revenue came from shoe sales. The shoe category was over 50% of our revenue. And so far in 2018, over 60% of our revenue has come from shoe sales. And so I want to break down to you what that looks like, as we've gone through different quarters of selling on Amazon. In 2016 of Q4, our shoe sales were 23% of our overall revenue. Our ROI was 79%, and our ASP, that's average selling price for the shoe category, was $70. If you're selling items on Amazon and you're not selling shoes, most likely you're selling lower priced items, and your average selling price is like 15, 20, 25. But when you're able to sell higher priced items, you're able to save a lot in fees and be able to have more take-home profits in the end. Now you might be saying 23% of your overall revenue, that's kind of small. Well, that's during Q4 when I'm like killing it doing toys. So still, shoes was an awesome revenue source for us. In Q1 of 2017, sales were 63% of our overall revenue, and we were able to get 44% ROI on every shoe sale, and our ASP for our shoes were $69. In Q2 of 2017, 58% of our overall revenue came from shoes. Our ROI was 44%, and our ASP was $70. In Q3, 56% of our overall revenue was shoes, 37% ROI, $66 for our ASP. And in Q4 of 2017, 32% of our overall revenue came from shoes. Again, I'm killing it. We're both killing it doing toys during Q4. So even though that percentage went down, it's still the overall, the profits we made more profits in Q4 of 2017 than we did the other quarters, but the percentage was down because toys was even bigger.
So the dollar amount for Q4 would have been higher, so 32%, but the overall dollar amount is going to be higher than it was in Q3, even though it was 56%.
Right, and in Q4, 38% ROI, our average selling price $68, and then year to date so far, 61% of our overall revenue is from the shoe category, 34% ROI with $62 ASP. Now, when you're looking at this, you can see a trend that early on we had a higher ROI, and you might think, well, you're just lowering your ROI. That's not very good, except that the number of shoe sales was increasing, and we've gotten more comfortable with our sourcing parameters. And so we're able to make more selling shoes in 2018 than we were in 2017 because we're buying more shoes at lower ROIs. And guess what? Return on investment is return on investment. That is something that you're getting back. And so it's still a positive. And when you 10x that, it becomes an even bigger number.
So you're making up what you're losing in the ROI as you scale your business, you're making up for it in volume. So we're selling a higher volume number of units of shoes now than we were a year and a half ago. And in order to be able to find those shoes, I've lowered my parameter for ROI. I feel more comfortable now buying shoes at a lower ROI and feeling confident that they're going to sell. And so we're able to buy more in volume and make still a really high ASP. $62 is a good ASP in shoes, and we're still able to make higher profits every month.
Right. So like early on, if you're just starting off selling stuff on Amazon, most times you want to try to double your money, get 100% ROI. But if you're wanting to really go the distance with selling shoes, being comfortable with lower ROI is a good thing if you know that you're actually going to make that. And so, we've gotten more comfortable with our ROI as time has gone on, and in return, we've been able to sell more shoes, and it's been a good thing for us. So let me go into the next thing that I'm going to turn over to Rebecca, and she's going to talk to you about selling shoes on Amazon.
Okay, so with that introduction that we've just given you, if there's one thing that I want you to take away from today and from what we're going to talk about in this webinar, it's that shoes are profitable and they can boost your Amazon FBA business. If you want to increase your disbursements, if you want to increase your overall sales, adding shoes is a really profitable way to go about it. And because of that high average selling price, it really does make a difference as far as you're not spending as much time or money having many units prepped. You're talking about the difference between if you sell one pair of shoes for $100, think about the time and effort that goes into prepping that one pair of shoes compared to what we were doing before we started selling shoes. Might have been, $5 $20 toys or $10 toys. There's just so much more time and effort that goes into the preparation for that. And also, another aspect of that, we were really toy heavy in our inventory before in the years past. And like when we were looking at the chart just now where you can see that toys really during Q4, our percentage of the shoes drops, and because toys have such an impact on what happens during Q4. Well, if you are used to selling toys or other categories that do so well during Q4, you know that other times of the year things can kind of slack off, and it gets to be a little bit frustrating trying to figure out, okay, so what do I do to keep steady sales coming in throughout the year? And that's another thing that we found with shoes is that they're not as seasonal. I mean, of course, there's certain types of shoes that are seasonal. So right now you're getting into sandal weather, and during the winter you're going to sell more boots. But overall, shoes sell really well year-round, and so it's been a way for us to add a steady income stream to our FBA business throughout the year. And it's not just during Q4 that we see really great sales. Our shoe sales do go up in Q4, not to the same extent as toys do, but we've really enjoyed having just a very steady stream of sales in shoes throughout the year that doesn't fluctuate in the same way that other categories have. So what we're really going to get into, we talked about for this webinar, we're going to be getting into the 3 myths of selling shoes on Amazon. And really, a lot of this is going to have to do with having the right mindset. So we're going to bust some myths. And if you've, taken any of our courses or read our blog at all, you know how important mindset is to us, and that we really encourage you to have the right mindset. And that is the same when it comes to selling shoes. And if you're thinking about selling shoes, we want to help you to think through some things that you might have heard about selling shoes on Amazon and try to correct some of that thinking if it's false. And you just can't expect the same results in the shoes category that you might see in others like groceries or books or toys. So if you have experience in these other categories but not yet in selling shoes, I just really want to encourage you to think about the ways that it's going to be different and prepare yourself for that. And in particular, I know for me, it was an adjustment to know that right off the bat, you're probably not going to find a lot of fast turns with shoes. Shoes are kind of known for being more of a long tail item. And so you need to prepare yourself for that. Prepare yourself for the fact that it's going to have a higher buy cost. If you are used to buying toys or groceries, you might be used to buying things with less than $10, $5 for your buy cost, and then you mark it up and you're able to sell it, for at 100% ROI. But with shoes, you're talking $20, $30, $40, $50 for your buy costs. And that's kind of that's a mindset shift that you're going to have to make. And you have to ask yourself if you're ready for that. And all of these things were a frustration for me at first because I kind of went into selling shoes without completely understanding how that dynamic of it would work. And I expected to buy shoes and sell them to work the same way that selling toys had or books had in the past for us. And that just wasn't the case. So there is a learning curve. But I really want to encourage you that if you stick with it and if you learn the category and you do some experimentation, if you study the category, study what you're doing, keep good notes with what you're doing, you really can make great profits with shoes. You just have to take the time to learn it and to learn how to source and sell them correctly. And shoes do have a reputation for being long tail, but they don't have to be. And that was part of my problem at first, was expecting every pair of shoes that has a certain rank to just all react the same way. And there's so many more factors than just sales rank that go into buying shoes. And so at first it was difficult for me to understand that, but now I'm able to look through different factors that go into what makes a good pair of shoes, and I can find shoes that will as soon as they hit the Amazon warehouse, they'll sell, because I know what to look for now. And all of that, like I said, that's just to encourage you and to help you to prepare your mindset for the challenges that you might find, but to know that even though there are challenges, they can be overcome. We did it, and I firmly believe that if we can do it, you can too. I don't come from a business background. I really did not get into business until we got married, and I saw what Stephen was doing and wanted to join him with that because it looked exciting. But I have a degree in English, and this is not historically my background, but I can do it, so you can too, and I want to encourage you with that. So on that note, let's just jump right into the 3 myths that we're going to be covering tonight. And these are things that you might have heard from other sellers, or you might have thought yourself when you're thinking through, what would it be like to sell shoes on Amazon. So let's look at the first one. And the first myth is that shoes are a gated category. And even if you can get approved to sell shoes, all the best shoe brands are restricted. So if you've been paying attention at all lately, you probably know that shoes are no longer a gated category. They were in the past, and when we first put together the shoe course last year, it was still a gated category, although it was pretty much auto approvals at the time. If you applied, then you got approved. And currently, though, you don't even have to do that. Currently, shoes is the category is ungated for anybody who has a pro selling plan. So if you're listening today and you're on the fence about should I be a pro seller or should I stick with the individual selling plan, I really encourage you. So many more categories are open to you if you have a pro selling plan. It costs $40 a month with Amazon to do that, but that's a different webinar actually. But there's so many reasons why you should have a pro selling plan and not an individual one. But one of the big reasons for me is that shoes is an ungated category. So that's the first truth that I want to talk about in regards to this first myth, but there's some other truths as well. And if you look at the second part of this myth, that all the best shoe brands are restricted, so there's still numerous profitable shoe brands out there that are ungated for everybody, that aren't restricted. And a lot of times it's easy to get caught up in 1 or 2 brands that are restricted and to think that, it's not worth it to find shoes. There's nothing out there, but there are plenty of brands that are ungated for all. And in fact, even the ones that are gated, the brands that are gated, it's still possible to get approved even for these. There's some really popular brands that are restricted if you're a newer seller or if you're new to selling shoes. And as frustrating as it might be to go out there and scan and look and try to find shoes to sell, and it seems like all of the most profitable, popular brands are restricted, I just don't think that that's completely true, and it doesn't hold you back even if it is, even if you are restricted for a lot of these brands. And kind of to show you how that is true, I want to walk you through some steps right now about how to get approved to sell in some of these popular shoe brands that you might be restricted in if you're a newer seller. So we're going to go step by step through this and cover what you need to do. So the first thing, if you found a pair of shoes and you think you're restricted, or you know you're restricted in this brand, go ahead and log into Seller Central, and you can do this on your desktop or you can do this on your phone. Either one, it will work. Just log into Seller Central on a browser, and then go to Inventory, hover over the Inventory tab up at the top of your of that page, and click on Add a Product. And so once you've clicked on Add a Product, you should be able to see an option where you can list a new product. And under where it says list a new product, you're going to type in the brand name of the shoe that you're interested in selling. So let's say it's Under Armour. So you would type in Under Armour under list a new product. And then you would pick a shoe, and if given the option, you're going to click on show variations, not shoe variations, show variations. So once you've got the variations pulled up there, you're going to have, possibly it's going to say listing limitations apply. It might say sell yours now, and if that's the case, you're not restricted either in that brand or that particular ASIN. But if it does say listing limitations apply under the variations for that particular shoe, click on apply now, and that will either get you auto approved, which would mean that suddenly it would say, you're approved, or it would tell you what else you might need to submit. And that, a lot of times is going to be either like a letter from the brand giving you approval, or invoices. And honestly, I have never submitted anything as far as further documents for shoes if I'm restricted in a brand. We have only ever been auto approved, or either right away, or another thing that we encourage people to do is if you submit this, you click on apply now and it says that you're not approved, what we encourage you to do is set a timer, a reminder on your calendar for 3 to 6 months in the future, and go back. You can, in your Seller Central, in your account, you can go and see what open applications you have. And this works not just with shoes, but with any ASIN or with any brand or category that you've applied for approval in the past. You can go and see what open applications you have, and you can, check on them again in the future and reapply. And we have found that there have been brands that we've requested to get approved for in the past that we were not auto approved. We came back a few months later and all of a sudden we're approved. And we don't know why that happens, other than you have this set amount of time that you've proven to Amazon you've gotten sales in the category, sales in like items, sales of things that are similar, and you've got good seller metrics, you've built up good feedback, you've built up a reputation for not having defective items or lots of returns, whatever the case may be. You've got really good seller metrics, and you've proven over a period of time you're no longer a quote new seller after that 6 months of proving to Amazon what your selling record is, and suddenly you're approved. And so this is a way that we encourage you, if you're getting started in shoes or just in any other category or brand, to expand what you're able to sell over time by just trying to apply for it, see if you're auto approved, and if you're not, be methodical about coming back and applying again to get approval in the future. And you'd be surprised at how many brands will open up to you if you just try this over time. Set those reminders and be methodical about going back and reapplying. So,
and before we move on, I just want to encourage everybody to take a quick screenshot of this, because this does not just apply, like Rebecca said, to shoe brands, but it can apply to many different brands, home and kitchen brands, and other categories that you can use this strategy to get approved. And yeah, 3 to 6 months later, try again, and your metrics could have opened the door for you to sell. When you see a restricted icon when you're outsourcing, that is not a dead end, that's just a speed bump. And so view it as a speed bump and then go through this process. If it works and you get accepted, then great, move forward and start selling that. If you don't, set a reminder, try again in the future, and work on making sure your metrics are good and you could get approved in the future. So take a screenshot of this before we moved on so that you can use this for any brand that's out there that you want to be approved for.
Right. And again, it all comes back to mindset. If you have the mindset that, oh, I'm restricted in, this popular brand, I'm restricted in Nike, I'm restricted in Under Armour, whatever, you hear all these people talking about how great the profits are on these shoes, and you think, but I'm never going to make it because I'm restricted, then that mindset's really going to limit you. But if instead you have the mindset of, well, I'm restricted now, but I'm going to do what it takes to become unrestricted in the future, then you'll have more and more brands and more ASINs opened up to you over time, and you will, within a few months, you could potentially have so many brands opened up to you that have, thousands of profitable shoes available for you to sell, and you'll have even fewer competitors because you will be taking the time and the effort to learn a category that's more difficult and to get unrestricted in these shoes that, people see this as a roadblock and not a speed bump, and they just stop. But if you don't, and if you keep going forward, you'll see that another one of the big benefits, I think, of selling in the shoes category is there are a lot fewer competitors. And so that, as you know, ends up your prices hold more and your items will sell faster if you're in categories where, a lot of times we are the only seller of a particular ASIN, of a particular shoe variation. Let's move on to the second myth of our 3 myths, and that is that it's hard to find profitable shoes to sell on Amazon. I just don't know where to source. I can't find anything. Where do I even begin? And this is another place where I want to encourage you to shift your mindset. If you're coming from a background of sourcing at thrift stores or at garage sales, you're really going to need to shift your game plan if you want to get into selling shoes. You can't sell used shoes on Amazon. You have to sell brand new shoes. And so if you're used to sourcing at a thrift store or garage sales, you are not going to really find shoes that you're absolutely confident they're new. So you're not going to be able to source in those places. You're not going to be able to find shoes that are brand new, never worn, in their original branded box with the UPC. Those are all requirements for selling shoes. And so you're going to need to start finding different places to source shoes. And for the most part, retail arbitrage and online arbitrage are 2 of the best ways to find shoes to sell on Amazon. And so if you've been doing, even if you've been doing RA and OA in the past in other categories, you still might need to kind of think outside the box and go to stores where you haven't sourced in the past and start looking in different places than what you might be accustomed to find these shoes. For me, I tried to do RA, retail arbitrage, and it just didn't work for me. I did not have any success with that. In fact, I really was miserable. But I found a lot more success doing OA, and everyone's different. But the truth is, regardless of where you end up finding your sources of shoes, there are ways to make sourcing shoes a lot easier. And there are tons of profitable shoes to sell on Amazon. And I really encourage you, especially as you're getting started, you can get out there if you're doing retail arbitrage, get out there in some of the stores that are known to be stores with shoes that are good for resale and scan a lot. But you can also, in addition to just going out there and just scanning things, it's good to get into stores and to see what brands are popular and what styles are popular. But there's also ways to, whether you're doing RA or OA, there's ways to make it easier. There's ways to find leads on shoes. And I really highly encourage that to kind of, I guess, like lessen the learning curve or to shorten the lead time on finding leads or ways to get a rabbit trail going, where you get a lead and then you kind of take off from there, finding, oh, if this shoe works, then what about this shoe and this shoe and this shoe? And so in order to do that, we really highly recommend using either deal list, BOLO list. Be on the lookout is what BOLO stands for. You can subscribe to lists where you get deals every day, or you can get a certain number a week, or you can also join a group. If you're doing RA, there's some groups that are formed and based on your location. You can join groups that give you leads on stores in your area that would have certain shoes as leads, and it's not that you just go out and buy everything on the list, but it gives you a starting point where okay, if this brand has this sale going on at this store, I want to go check it out, and it kind of pulls in some leads for you and gets you started without just having to go out and do all the scanning on your own. And we also recommend some tools if you're doing online arbitrage, which, like I said, I do 100% online arbitrage for shoes. I know there's people who do only retail arbitrage and they make a killing off of it. It just wasn't for me. But there's some tools that you can use with online arbitrage. When I first got started, I was using OAXray to find shoes, and I kind of would use my BOLO list to get started, and I would see what was hot that day, and then I would go and start scanning other sites on my own. And so I really enjoyed using OAXray, and then I got into, a little over a year ago, I started using Tactical Arbitrage, and I found it to be really great also. And OAXray and Tactical Arbitrage both have positives and negatives. We have a blog post out there that compares the two of them if you want to go look for that on the blog, the Full-Time FBA blog. But just for right now, where I am in my whole journey of doing online arbitrage with shoes, I'm using Tactical Arbitrage on a daily basis with my deal list, and that's how I find pretty much all of the shoes that I'm sourcing every day. And yeah, Stephen just put the link up there. If you're interested in learning more about Tactical Arbitrage, you can find it at that link, fulltimefba.com/TA, and that's a typo, fulltimefba.com/TA. And if you want to get an extended 10-day trial, use the coupon code FULLTIME10 to be able to. Awesome. Who is your proofreader?
Some English major, I know.
English major. Okay, anyway, so moving on past that. So another question that comes up, going back to finding profitable shoes, is brand restrictions. And people, we hear a lot of people say, like, oh, I can't make any money at sourcing shoes. Everything's restricted. All the good brands are restricted. And I know that's frustrating, but that's just not the case. There's a ton of profitable shoes out there that aren't restricted. It's just a matter of getting out there and finding them, doing the work. It is work. Even if you're using a BOLO list or using Tactical Arbitrage, you cannot expect these tools to just do all the work for you. But one thing that we do encourage is, once you find some brands that you are not restricted in, we really encourage you to kind of spread out your investment in shoes over many brands and try to sell a few pairs, at least, of any brand that you can find that's profitable and that you're not restricted in, so that if there are restrictions that come in the future, because that's happened, in shoes and in other categories, that all of a sudden something is restricted that didn't used to be restricted. But we have found that sometimes when these restrictions happen, we're grandfathered in, because we sold, Nike in the past when other people suddenly are restricted in Nike, we're not. And it's because, we had sold them at some point. We'd sold some pairs. And I mean, that's happened for us in toys and other categories as well. So just continue to find the things that you're not restricted in, focus on what you can do, not on what you can't do. And you'll find that over time, you're building up your seller metrics and you're establishing a foundation and a reputation with Amazon as a solid seller, and you'll continue to have doors open for you in the future. And again, that just keeps coming back to mindset. Don't focus on what's closed off to you. Focus on what you can do, and also focus on something that happens. We've noticed a lot in Facebook groups. Hopefully not in ours, because we try to steer it away from these types of conversations. But a lot of times you might hear in Facebook groups other sellers talking about like, oh, the sky is falling, or oh, things are awful, or things are getting worse, or people exaggerate things, and they might overstate some of these issues about restrictions and about what's profitable and not. And really just evaluate these things for yourself and think through, is that legit? Is that really what's going on? Let me crunch some numbers and see, is it really as bad as people are saying? And you might see that you can find solutions and find profits where other people are just ready to give up. And honestly, sometimes I think people are saying that to scare other people off. And so
I think so too.
Yeah. So keep a positive outlook. I mean, be realistic. There are times when things do happen that are might have a negative impact on our business, but being able to pivot and being able to think realistically is going to go a long ways for your business. Okay. So now I'm ready for myth number 3. And so now let's talk about the third myth. And again, this is sort of based in reality, but let's figure out how it's not completely true. Shoe returns are too high, and it's just not worth it to sell shoes on Amazon. We hear this one all the time, and honestly, I've just kind of given up on trying to correct people on it, because I'm like, really, it's just not worth it to sell shoes. Okay, I'm pretty much making a full-time income from doing it, so I guess it's not worth it.
That's more shoes for us.
Right, exactly. So, like I said, you'll hear people talking about like, oh, everything's awful, the sky's falling, and they may truly think that. And shoes are not for everyone. I get it, but you really need to like take everything you hear with a grain of salt, especially on Facebook. And so this is one of the biggest complaints that we hear, that returns are going to kill you. The fees are going to kill you when you're selling shoes. It's just so much worse than other categories. But let's just dig a little bit deeper and we'll find the truth. And that is, yes, the number of returns are higher for shoes than other categories. The number of returns are higher, but the number of sellable returns is also higher. So what does that break down to? What does that even mean? When you get a pair of shoes back, you really need to look at, okay, is that just a complete wash? When somebody returns a pair of shoes and, you hear, oh, the returns are so high, is it just completely, a complete loss when you get them returned? And what we have found is that is not the case. That when we get returns in shoes, we can still either sell them as new on Amazon, or if they're not truly new and in brand new sellable condition, we have ways to sell them on other platforms as used, and we still are able to sell them. We're not just stuck with all these shoes at our house. So you have to look at the overall sell-through rate and not just the number of shoes you have returned. And so one thing that we have found, honestly, the returns in shoes are a lot easier to deal with in some ways than in other categories. We've had stuff returned in other categories like toys and kitchen items that they're either broken or completely worn out. They come back in pieces. Somebody took it apart or couldn't get it put together. They send stuff back like without the packaging, or we've had kitchen items returned that have obviously been cooked in or used in some way. But that just isn't always the case with shoes. In fact, usually with shoes, they're returned as sellable. So basically somebody gets the pair of shoes, they try them on, they don't fit, and they return them. And it's not a problem. The warehouse workers, Amazon workers, they receive those shoes, they inspect them, and they just add them back to our inventory as sellable.
And that's what I love about shoes. Sorry to interject, but when you sell a toy or you sell something else, another category, Rebecca talked about like the worst case scenarios. There's even scenarios where the toy was just opened and it's returned, but Amazon's not going to sell it anymore. They're not going to reclose it. They're not going to put it back in new condition. But for shoes, Amazon will get the shoes back and then present them as in new condition again. They have people who are trained to put the tissue paper back in the shoe or put the cardboard shoehorn back in the shoe wrap the shoes up in tissue paper the right way. They're trained to make it new, sellable as new again. And with all of the other categories, you just have to have it returned to you and eat it as a loss or sell it at a garage sale or something like that. But with shoes, almost all of our shoes go right back into sellable condition.
Do you want to bring up that next slide that shows?
Yes, let's do this.
So do you want to talk about this?
Sure. So this is our Manage FBA returns. It's a new feature on Amazon, but it will tell you the items that you've had returned, the reason why it was returned, and the refund date, all this other information. But you can see, I blurred this out just to kind of protect our inventory, but you can see these are all shoes and the reasons why they returned. Too small, too short, didn't like the style, too short, too small again, too large. Okay, so there's, these items, they didn't fit, and it makes sense that we get shoe returns because they don't fit, but they all come back in as in sellable condition. Now this one hasn't been returned yet, and so I can keep track of this, and then even though the return was authorized on April 24th, the refund date was on May 14th. If it's not ever received, I can open up a ticket to get reimbursed for this. But almost all of our shoe returns are just like this. They come back in sellable condition and returned to inventory. What other category on Amazon can you say that happens so often with your returns? Now you might see, man, they get shoe returns all the time. We have a lot of shoes. So yeah. we sell a lot of shoes on Amazon, and so don't get freaked out about this. But they all come back in sellable condition. You can even click view details to see, how often a shoe was returned. If you get like a shoe returned 3 different times and they all say it's too small, you might want to set up a removal order to not sell that on Amazon, because you'll probably have everyone say it's too small. But this report's really good, and it's just showing you they all go back in. Almost all of them are sellable condition, return to your inventory, and you can still make the profit in the sale.
And even with the ones that are, they're not, Amazon doesn't consider them sellable. They may either say customer damaged, or we've had some shoes that were marked as defective, and I'm not real sure what makes a shoe defective, but we get those. So those don't go back into our inventory. Those have to be removed. We bring them back here to us to inspect, and even then, we've gotten shoes back that say, quote, customer damaged, and I look at them and I honestly cannot understand why they were marked that way. They are still, they still have the tissue paper inside the cardboard holder inside the shoes. We've gotten shoes back that were marked as unsellable they still have our stretch wrap around it. They were never even opened by a customer. And so even though there are, a higher number of returns, it's very, very manageable if you have a system in place to handle those returns. So those are just some different things that you'll need to keep in mind going forward. That kind of sums up the 3 myths that I wanted to cover today, and the kind of the mindset shift that I think is necessary if you're going to look into selling shoes. It is a very different category than others if you're used to selling grocery or books or toys. And so in some respects, it can be more difficult than other categories. Those are all things that I think really they're on the surface, it could be intimidating, but if you dig a little bit deeper, you go beyond the myth and look for the truth. We really think that shoes have been a fantastic addition to our FBA inventory, and they've raised our average selling price tremendously, and they've raised our overall disbursements, and they've really given us a steady inventory to sell throughout the year, not just at Q4. And so we just want to open up those possibilities to you as well. I'm going to hand it back over to Stephen now.
So why should you add shoes to your Amazon business? Let's just kind of summarize some of the things that we've talked about. Obviously, you're diversifying your inventory. If you are just selling books or maybe toys and maybe a few other categories, here's the thing. Shoes is a game changer. And if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. That's
Did you just make that up?
No, but okay. It would be fun if I did. But you should change things, and by adding shoes to your Amazon business, it's really awesome. And there's the possibility of finding shoes out there that have very few competitors is really high. We almost always find shoes that are either sold out on Amazon and we sell them, or there's one other competitor. In fact, how many would you say is too many competitors for you, Rebecca?
Well, with a competitive, like priced competitively at what I would want to price it at, I wouldn't go more than like 4 or 5. It depends on the shoe. And I mean, that, I know that might sound crazy if you're in toys and you're used to looking at shoes, toys, items that have, hundreds of sellers. But yeah, to me, 4 or 5 sellers priced competitively is a lot. I really am looking for 1 or 2 competitors, or 0. 0 is ideal. And I find those every day. Every day I find shoes that I would be the only person selling it. And yeah.
Yeah. And so if you are looking for items that you can sell on Amazon that has fewer competition, the competitors that don't tank prices very often, it happens every now and then, but most of the time with selling shoes, most people keep their prices pretty firm. And another reason, you can raise your ASP, your average selling price. We've talked about this all throughout the webinar, and the savings that you have on FBA fees by selling a $100 item instead of 5 $20 items, the savings on the prepping fees, the time it takes to sell those items, to prepare them, to send them to Amazon, to box them, all that, you're just doing 1 for $100 instead of 5 for $20, and it just adds up over time. So average selling price being raised is a huge perk of adding shoes to your Amazon business, and really great ROI possibilities, and the opportunity for you to make more profits, raise your disbursements, and really do well when it comes to profit. And so I encourage you to add shoes to your Amazon business. And so in just a moment, we're going to do a Q&A, and a giveaway in just a moment is coming up. So stay tuned for that. We always have really good questions, and we want to give away a copy of our course, The Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes. And one lucky person here live will win that. And we'll have some Q&A. So again, if you have any questions pertaining to selling shoes on Amazon, be sure you put that in the question area in the webinar control panel. But again, don't forget about this, my free gift for you, fulltimefba.com/seller central tips. If you showed up late to the webinar, I want to make sure you got this. Take a quick screen capture. You can go to this link and get this free download PDF book all about fixing Amazon glitches, getting reimbursed and refunded for things that you deserve. And it's a nice little thing. It's a freebie that will actually make you money. So follow the tips in there, and it's my free gift to you. But I do want to let you know about, before we get into Q&A and the giveaway, I want to let you know about our course, The Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes. It is a 100+ page ebook and has over 4.5 hours of video content. Now, the content in the ebook, the content in the video course is the same content. And so if you like reading, we've got plenty of pictures and stuff. Then there's the book. If you like audio and video, we have the video course. And so you can choose your favorite way to learn, or you can do both and just really get the knowledge within the course ingrained in your brain. We have 11 bonus modules. We'll get to those in just a minute. So we could probably charge $100 just for the bonus modules alone, but we're not going to do that. There's a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it out and put the knowledge into action. And if after 60 days you're not happy, complete refund, no questions asked. And I want to make sure that you know the link, fulltimefba.com/selling shoes takes you to this course. And for a limited time, we have a coupon code, SHOES25. If you use the coupon code SHOES25, you can save $25 off of the course. This is our largest coupon code that we've ever offered for this course. And we're really excited about getting it in your hands. I want to walk through a little bit some of the bonuses that we're going to be talking about with this shoe guide. So the shoe guide talks about everything that we know about selling shoes, but there's some other things that would be a bonus for you to know in regards to selling shoes. Some bonus PDFs that we have. We include a checklist of questions to ask yourself before you start to buy shoes. There are certain things you need to make sure you understand and know before you buy shoes. We have a PDF about parameters, what you want to make sure before you go sourcing shoes, whether it's retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, to understand what your parameters are. What ROI are you looking for? What type of brands are you approved to sell? What, all different types of parameters that you want to make sure that you have and know and understand before you go out and do any sourcing. There's another PDF about the tools for sourcing shoes. There's different types of tools that make sourcing shoes so much easier. We want to make sure that we have all those in one place for you. There's a PDF about how to normalize a shoe listing. Rebecca, why don't you talk to us a minute about what that means, normalize a shoe listing?
It can mean a couple of different things, but sometimes on an Amazon product page, when you've got parent-child relationships, there can be problems with the way that the listing was set up, so that everything isn't completely organized by the correct colors, and the sizes might be under two different colors that are really the same color, or you might end up with orphan children pages that have been separated from the parents. There's a couple of different things that could mean, and so we'll go into more detail in the PDF and in the course, but it's a step-by-step process for how you can work with Seller Central to get shoe listings fixed and normalized, so
right,
it's sell better.
Exactly. It's basically taking a frustrating aspect of selling shoes on Amazon, and we walk you through the steps on how to use Amazon to fix that little glitch that's going on.
And to make the shoes so that customers can find, the whole point
Yes.
is so that customers can find your shoes and will buy them.
Yes, exactly. Another PDF for you, inspection and prepping checklists, so that you don't forget each of the steps when you're inspecting and prepping your shoes for sale on Amazon. And also a PDF on how to increase your FBA sales with multi-channel fulfillment on eBay. There's a tool out there that we use to sell some of our shoes on eBay that are also being sold on Amazon, and it's pretty awesome. And we walk you through that. And you can get more eyes on your shoes to possibly buy it on Amazon. And there's been times when that's happened. Someone's bought our shoes on eBay instead of Amazon, and it's worked out really well, so we walk you through that. But we also have some bonus videos to help you through. We got finding the ASIN of a shoe variation. Sometimes you need to have the ASIN for a particular shoe variation. You need the specific ASIN for a black, red shoe, and that's going to be totally different than any other color shoe or another different size, and we'll show you exactly how to find the ASIN for that. We have a video walking you through a faster way to find ASINs for out-of-stock shoe variations in Inventory Lab. One of the things Amazon does is that if there's an item out of stock on Amazon, Amazon will hide that. Amazon does not want a product page of a sold out item to be found by a customer, so they'll hide it. And that makes it hard sometimes for us sellers to find ASINs for things that are out of stock. Well, we'll walk you through how you can do that through Inventory Lab. Also, we use a tool called How Many, and we walk you through in this bonus video how to be able to use how many variations to compare prices and make buying decisions. There's also how to add a variation to a shoe listing using Add a Product. Maybe there's a shoe size and color that is not on Amazon yet. Well, we'll walk you through how to add that to a parent ASIN through this in Seller Central. It can be really complicated. We make it real easy and walk you through the steps on how to do that. And finally, a video about how to optimize your eBay listings when importing your Amazon listings with Joe Lister. Joe Lister is the tool that we use to sell our Amazon items on eBay. The eBay customer buys it, and Amazon ships it to the eBay customer. And when a customer on eBay buys it, Joe Lister goes in and removes the quantity from Amazon immediately, so you never worry about a double sale. And we walk you through how to optimize your eBay listings, because the automatic way Joe Lister does it is not a good way with shoes. We walk you through how to make it even better. So those are just the bonuses. Again, we can probably charge $100 for the bonuses, but we're not going to do that. But the Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes, again, fulltimefba.com/selling shoes. Use the coupon code SHOES25 to save $25, and that would be awesome.
And I'll say this course, I put this course together about a little over a year ago, and it is in the lineup. It's in our queue to be updated in 2019. So if you purchase today's version of it, when we have updated it and we'll be adding more content, I'm continually making notes as I'm learning more about selling shoes and different aspects of it, and as I'm expanding our own business, our own shoe business, and even looking at different platforms, then that is going to be content that'll be added to this. And so anybody who buys The shoe course, when it is updated, you've got lifetime updates. So if you buy the course today at this price with the $25 off coupon, you'll automatically for free get the updated version when it comes out in 2019.
Right, and like Rebecca said, as we learn more, we put it into the course, and so you know, and when we do that, we're going to raise the price because there's going to be more videos, there's going to be more content, more knowledge to be able to make money selling shoes, and so in the future when we update this, the price will go up, and so. But you can have the best opportunity right now to buy because of the coupon code and probably get it at the lowest price it's going to be advertised for. And we're really excited about that. But the content right now in the course, it's very applicable to today's Amazon platform, and you'll be able to go through the course and make really good decisions and start selling and have a really good foundation of selling shoes on Amazon. So don't think that just because we want to update it means that this book is outdated. No, there's just more that we've learned that we want to add to it. And so be sure you know that. All right, we're going to do a giveaway. We want to give away a copy of the course to one particular attendee who is live here. And so thanks for sticking around. You have an opportunity to win this course absolutely free. So Rebecca, if you'll give me a number between 1 and 116, and we'll do that. We'll also put our faces back up on the screen. So
right. Between 1 and 116, let's go with 25.
25. All right. So 25 is where it's at. Let's see. So Daniel Calloway is here right now. Daniel Calloway, thank you so much for entering this contest by being here. And you just wanted a copy of the Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes. So Daniel Calloway, find me on Facebook, or you can go to fulltimefba.com, click on the Contact Us page and send me a message that way, and we'll get you a copy of the Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes. So congratulations.
Yay.
All right, we're going to do Q&A now. I got some questions over here on my screen that I'm going to start going through. Antoinette says, what are the best brands of shoe brands to sell on Amazon?
The best shoe brands to sell on Amazon are the ones you're not restricted in and that you can find profitable shoes at your favorite sources.
Right. And
I mean, you know, any brand you can find is a great brand, honestly. I know that, you know, some people swear by Nike. Everybody says that Nike is where you find, you know, all the best. I don't like to always just go to the same brands that everybody is sourcing. And like I said, I prefer to find brands where there's not a lot of competition. And so it really depends. I think the best brand to sell, and it sounds cheesy, is the one that you can find that you're not restricted in and that you can find profitable shoes. Find shoes, you know, start where you're comfortable. If you don't know anything about women's shoes, you know, heels, then don't get those. If you don't know anything about kids' shoes, kids sizing, then don't look there. Look at what you're comfortable with. If you know athletic shoes, if you wear athletic shoes and you're familiar with the different brands, go with that. If you're familiar with kids' shoes, and you know, sometimes it's hard for me to understand the sizing on kids' shoes, so I kind of steer clear of them at times. But if you don't have a problem with that, go to that and scan those shoes and look there. And that's really the best advice I have. Really, it's different for everybody. It's hard to say what the best brands are.
Right. And you mentioned something about kids' shoes that reminded me of something that we wanted to add to the course coming up. If you take the course, the Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes, and you want to test some of the things out without putting a lot of money into it, trying kids' shoes is a lower priced, but the ROI is going to be lower and the profits are going to be lower too, but it's a little bit less risky to try to learn that with selling kids' shoes.
Kids' shoes cost less than, you know, if you're buying men's boots that are $150. That's a bigger risk. You're sinking more capital into one pair of shoes than if you're buying, you know, kids' sandals for $20.
Yeah, but with the higher risk comes the higher reward, the higher profits, and we found that it's definitely worth that. Randy wants to know if you can get auto approved to sell Nike. Like,
I mean, you can try. I don't know.
Yeah,
it just depends. Every seller is different.
Yeah, it depends on your metrics, and it depends on how long you've been selling. So like we've said before, if you didn't get approved now, try again in 3 months. If you didn't get approved automatically, another 3 months. And just like clockwork, keep going. And one day, as long as your seller metrics are good and your customer feedback scores are good, then it's possible that you'll get approved.
And that brings me to another thing, you know, going back to what are the best brands to sell, and then asking about, you know, asking about restrictions on specific brands. Another thing to keep in mind is that every seller is different, and that's one reason why we don't put out on our blog, we don't put out a list of restricted brands, because what's restricted for us might not be restricted for you, and what's restricted for you might not be restricted for us. I know it's frustrating because it's so much easier to just, here's a list, don't get things on this list. But you really have to check every single brand and sometimes every single ASIN. You know, Stephen was asking me the other day, I can't remember in regards to what, but he asked, like, what's a shoe brand we're restricted in? And I was like, I really can't think of one right now, except I know that Under Armour, we can't sell this year's models of shoes. We can sell last year's or the year before of Under Armour, but we can't sell this year. And so, you know, it really just depends. You have to look up especially when you're a newer seller, check every single ASIN before you buy it to make sure that you're not restricted, or you'll be really sad when you get your shoes back home and you can't sell them like you thought you could. But there's sometimes some of these questions about brands and restrictions, it's just, there's not an easy answer. I wish there was.
Yeah. Ricard was asking, what's an acceptable return rate on shoes? I've been selling shoes for a few months and I have about a 30% return rate. I want to know if that's normal. And I think that's about normal for what we've experienced, you know, about a 30% return rate. But again, it goes right back into sellable inventory. And so, you know, I haven't even looked in a long time because
it's as high as 30%.
You don't think so? Okay.
No,
what would you say?
I would say closer to like 15%.
Okay. See, I haven't looked in a long time because they all just go right back into sellable inventory, so I haven't even looked. So that's good that it's about 15%.
I think it's closer to that. But then, the actual shoes that we're not able to sell, or the percentage would be a lot lower than that.
Right.
And I think, you know, in a case like that where you're wondering about your return rate, I think it's important to look at the actual reasons why. Look at what's being returned and why it's being returned. And like Stephen mentioned earlier, if you're getting shoes returned consistently that it's saying too small, too small, too small, maybe the problem is when you're sourcing, you know, you can look on the Amazon product page, and if you're buying shoes that have a lot of reviews on them, one of the options when people are leaving reviews for shoes is to give feedback about how they fit. And so you want to look at the percentage of fits as expected. And so on right there under the product title, or right around where on the product page where you've got the size drop down box for the shoes, where you can select the size and the color, it's going to have a place where it shows the percentage of either fits as expected or that it was too small or too big. And if it has a high percentage of too small or too big, you might want to steer clear of that. But if the majority of, you know, 75 or more, and again, it's a parameter, everybody's parameter is different. But if 75, 80% of the customers are saying that this shoe fits as expected, then you know that shoe's probably going to have fewer returns. And so if you have a higher return rate like that, you really want to look at, okay, is this a problem that I'm having when I'm sourcing, that I'm getting shoes that are, you know, they're expected to be returned because they're just, they run small.
Yeah, that's good. Curtis says, do you do PPC, that's pay-per-click advertising, with shoes? And no, we don't. We don't do that. One of the reasons why, I think, is because we're picking shoe opportunities out there that have a really low number of competitors, and so you know, and we're picking ones that have a rank that we you know, feel comfortable with, which kind of leads into the next thing. Ricard says, what factors do you look for when deciding what shoes to buy?
So there's a lot of different factors that go into it. You know, one of the first things that we as sellers are kind of trained to look for when we're making a sourcing decision when in other categories is sales rank. And some of the things that you learn about how to make decisions with sales rank and, you know, looking at the price history and the sales rank history in other categories, that just kind of goes out the window when it comes to shoes, because of the way that Amazon tracks sales rank for items that have a parent-child relationship. So when you're looking at a pair of shoes, you're not going to be able to see the sales rank for the black size 7 or the red size 8 of a shoe. And you're only going to see the sales rank for the overall listing, the parent of that shoe. So
the combination of all the children.
Right. So that makes it kind of hard, because then you don't know, okay, I'm looking at this shoe that it looks like it's potentially going to be very profitable in the black size 10, but is that a popular variation? Do people buy the black size 10, or do they only buy the black size 7, 8, 9? And so those are things that you'll kind of get used to as you're looking at them, as you're looking at shoes more, looking at what are the popular sizes for women's shoes? What are the popular sizes for, and by popular I mean common. It's not like
it's
size
so cool.
8 is so popular.
Size 8 is so in.
Right. It's like, what are the common sizes, you know, and then what are the outlier sizes? You know, a size 14 or 15 in men, that's like some pretty big feet there. Or size, you know, 7 is going to be smaller, and so you're going to want to look for, unless you know, some people build their business model on buying the outliers, but others are looking for more the middle range size variations. And so that's one thing you're going to want to look at. I always encourage people, when you're just getting started, to look for shoes that don't have a lot of color variations, because then that, if you're looking at a product page that has 30 colors available, that makes it even more difficult to know, well, which color is getting the most sales and which size of that color is getting the most sales. But if you can find a really low ranking shoe that has only 3 colors, it's black and white and tan, then you know, okay, those are all 3 neutral colors, and those are all colors that, you know, most people are going to be able to buy, that will match more things. And so those are pretty common, popular colors, and there's not going to be a lot of question over, you know, which one is selling the most. They're probably all going to be selling pretty similarly. Now, once you get into like, what are some tools that you can use? There are ways using How Many or Tactical Arbitrage where you can kind of dig deeper in the reviews. That's another way that you can make decisions about which shoes to buy, looking at the reviews, because you can't know from sales rank necessarily. You can look at the reviews and see which shoes are getting, which colors are getting more reviews. It's not a perfect way to make a decision, but if you look through the reviews and see, okay, out of 100 reviews, 50 of them say, because on the review, it's going to say, if it's a verified Amazon purchase, it will say what color and what size in the review that person bought. That's just an automatic part of their review. And so you can look through and see, okay, 50 out of 100 bought black shoes. Well, you know, then it's a pretty safe bet that the black is going to be a good color to buy.
Yeah, and How Many, you might have heard us talk about it. It's a fun name, and so sometimes people hear us talk about it and you're like, wait, what was it called? It's a Chrome extension that you add onto your computer, and there's a monthly fee. If you go to fulltimefba.com/How Many, you can find out more information about it. But yeah, it's just a Chrome extension that kind of organizes it all for you, so you can see it and understand it better. And make a better sourcing decision.
Yep. And Tactical Arbitrage has a variation feature as well that helps you analyze. So if you already have either one of those tools that you're using, or if you're looking for a tool to get both of those, have ways that help you kind of drill down and do more research. I mean, it's all stuff that you can do on your own. You can pull up the product page and you can kind of sort through the reviews and eyeball it yourself. But these tools make it a lot faster, and it does some number crunching for you and makes it a lot clearer.
Yep.
I hope that answered that question.
I think so.
Okay.
Sheila says, when you reapply for a brand, do you go back into that same application, or do you try to add a brand new product in that brand. So when you go to hover over inventory and then go to add a product, somewhere near the very top, there's a link that says check application status or something like that. You can click on that link and it shows you all of the ones that you've applied for, and if you've been approved, or if you want to reopen the application. So you just go through that and find the previous application that you opened, and you can just reapply right then and there and see if it works. So.
And the funny thing with that is, from time to time we go in and do that, and I'll see applications. I'm like, oh, I forgot we even applied for that. Let me see, and then I'll click on it, and whoa, I'd forgotten because it was so long ago, and suddenly we're auto approved. Yep. So it's a really easy way to check your status and get approval for stuff that you might not even have on your radar right now.
Yep. Ted says, do you apply for approval on the seller app or on your phone or another way? So we do it via desktop computer if we're at home, and
Seller Central.
In Seller Central, right. And then you can't do it through the Amazon Seller app. So I just open up my browser on my smartphone when I'm outsourcing. I'll be in the store sourcing something and see that I'm restricted, and we'll just open up my browser, use the Safari. I have an iPhone, so I use my Safari browser, go into Seller Central, log in, and then click all the buttons. And after about a minute and a half, I see that I'm approved or not approved, and I can either put it in my cart or move on. So it would be nice if they added that as a part of the Amazon Seller app, but right now you just have to use the browser on your smartphone. Let's see. Can you repeat the name of the other tool that you use? Okay, so OAXray.
OAXray.
Right, and if you go to fulltimefba.com/OAXray, you can get a extended 10-day free trial for that tool to be able to speed up your online arbitrage sourcing so much faster.
Yeah, and I really recommend if you go to our website, the Full-Time FBA blog, and in the search bar, just type in either OAXray or Tactical Arbitrage. We have a blog post that kind of breaks down the two of those. They're both really good tools. They both have positives and negatives. And for beginners, I really recommend OAXray because it was a lot easier for me to learn. I don't know if I could have learned Tactical Arbitrage while I was learning how to sell shoes at the same time. I think it would have been too much for me. Maybe for other people it wouldn't be. I don't know. But for me, like the learning curve with shoes combined with the learning curve of Tactical Arbitrage would have been too much. But OAXray was really good for me to get started. And we still use it. There's times when I use it if I've got Tactical Arbitrage doing something else and I'm wanting to run some scans. I'll use OAXray, and Stephen uses it for wholesale scanning also. So we still use it.
Yeah, yeah, all the time. Sheila says, what do you need to do to prep shoes?
That's a good question. And yeah, we've actually got some videos on YouTube and a blog post if you want to go look for that as well. Our YouTube channel is fulltimefba.com/YouTube, and that'll take you to our YouTube channel, or just go to the blog. Don't we have a quick link to go to, like, is it shoe series?
Yeah, fulltimefba.com/shoe series.
And that'll take you to a set of blog posts that we did last year that talks about different aspects of selling shoes. And one of those posts is about prepping shoes. And so basically, without going into too much detail, the quick version of how to prep shoes, you're going to want to inspect them, make sure that every pair, you've got a right and a left, and that they're not used, that there's no obvious dirt or anything on the bottom showing that they've been worn. There's no wear whatsoever. They need to be absolutely brand spanking new. You've got a right and a left. There's no issues with them. There's no security devices stuck to them. And then, the Amazon guidelines state that they need to be in a branded original shoebox. Some people will say, oh, if it doesn't have a shoebox, just put it in a generic brown box. We do not recommend that. The Amazon guidelines say that it needs to be in the branded shoebox from the manufacturer, and it needs to have a lid. That's another thing that gets asked sometimes. No, it has to have a lid. Just the bottom part of the box is not sufficient, and it needs to have the UPC on it. And then the lid needs to be securely attached, not with tape or anything like that. It needs to, we use stretch wrap, and we wrap it around a couple of times and it sticks to itself, and we'll keep, it's easy for the customer to cut it off and it doesn't stick to the box or ruin the box, but it keeps the lid, it holds the lid on so that the shoe's protected while it's at the warehouse. That's the basic rundown of it, but we go into more detail in those videos and blog posts.
Yeah, and you can get the stretch wrap at like Home Depot or Lowe's or Amazon, but if you want to get it, you know, in person, it's like in the moving section.
Yeah.
You know, we don't mean the really big one, but we mean
it's just a little roll.
Little small roll. Yeah. See, Curtis says, are there any shoe types or brands of shoes that you stay away from?
As far as brands, there's not anything that comes to mind. Now, there are some brands I've heard that, you know, they might try to give you an IP infringement claim or something like that. Now, one thing I will stay away from is if the brand is a seller on the Amazon product page, I won't mess with it because I don't want to try to compete against them and them get mad at me or whatever. So I don't know. I'm trying to think of one that I've seen before, like Birkenstock comes to mind. You know, if it says that there's a merchant fulfilled seller of Birkenstock on the Birkenstock shoes, I'm not going to mess with that. And that's just one that I'm pulling out of my head. But as far as styles of shoes, there are certain things that I try to stay in season. Some people swear by, you know, oh, I can sell boots all year round. It's cold somewhere all the time. And that's true. But like with storage fees, I don't necessarily want to mess with that. So I try to stick with shoes that are in season. And then I try to stay away from shoe, like we were talking about before, shoes that are kind of questionable as far as fit. And there are certain styles of shoes that are harder to get shoes that fit. In particular, women's dress shoes, certain styles, you have to get, you know, that requires trying them on and walking around to make sure that it's going to work. And so over the knee boots or really high heels or super fancy dress shoes, I kind of stay away from those. I've also heard people say that, you know, some people like to rent their shoes from Amazon if they're going to a wedding or going to be in a wedding. And so certain types of really expensive, fancy dress shoes, I kind of stay away from because you just see higher returns on those because of either the fit or they had one event that they wanted to wear it to and then they return it. So other than that, though, I can't think of anything that right offhand that I stay away from. Good to know.
Kyle says, how much should I spend for my first shoe order and how many pairs?
Well, it really depends on kind of your business model and what else you have going on in your business right now. So I recommend finding a budget for yourself with, you know, the amount of shoes that you're wanting to buy really is going to depend on how much capital you have available. I don't recommend going in 100% shoes, switching all of your inventory away from shoes right off the bat, because you're going to end up, it's just a really big risk. And because of the higher buy cost of shoes, you can end up tying up a lot of capital and not getting your money back on your investment as quickly as you expected. And that can really kind of stall out your disbursements and your profits. So like in our case, when we got started, like I said, we were heavy into toys and home items, kitchen items, and some books and stuff. And so a lot of those were faster turns. We knew we wanted to get into shoes, but we also didn't want to give up our fast turns because, you know, while you're transitioning, you still want to keep the money flowing. And so we kind of gradually set a little budget. I can't even remember what our first, I want to say it was like $500 for a week or something like that, or 2 weeks, $300. I can't remember. This was like a few years ago. It probably says in the book and I just don't remember. So like at first we kind of gave ourselves a little bit of room to go with an experiment. And then we just from there kind of gradually expanded it as we ramped up our inventory. And that's the thing with shoes being more of a long tail, you're not going to get your money back, you know, in a week or two right away. It is kind of a ramping up process. And so it really depends on the number, you know, the number of shoes or how much money really depends on how much capital you have available. You know, look at your sourcing budget for, you know, if you're getting disbursements every 2 weeks, look at how much money you have to source within that 2 week period and say, okay, I want to take a fourth of that and experiment with that in shoes. And like, so over the next few months, take a fourth of your sourcing budget and dedicate it to shoes. Giving a dollar amount isn't necessarily helpful so much as looking at percentages and looking at your budget, because it's going to be different for everybody. Everybody has different capital available to them.
Yep, that's definitely wisdom right there. I've been seeing a lot of questions asking about wholesale shoe purchases, and just to summarize, it's really rare to be able to secure a wholesale account for shoes, because almost every single shoe manufacturer out there, they only sell to brick and mortar stores. And so unless you have a brick and mortar store, and they want to see a picture of it, they want to, see your address of it.
They want you like a picture of you standing outside the store proving this is my store.
Right. So that, they, and that's the delivery. They want to see Google Maps. They want to see the picture on Google Maps. I mean, they're like, want to make sure they're delivering actually to a shoe store. And so unless you can get a brick and mortar store, it's almost impossible to get wholesale accounts. I said almost because I've had a few friends that have been able to crack a few wholesale accounts, but most of, like 99.9 repeating percent of your purchases when it comes to selling shoes is going to be retail arbitrage or online arbitrage, not wholesale. So just want to let everyone know about that. John says, can shoes still be profitable if using a prep service? I'm a Canadian seller selling on Amazon.com.
Yes, we use a prep service now. When we first got started, we were not using a prep service. We were bringing them here to our house. And at the very first, I was the one processing them. And then eventually we had someone that we had hired to come into our house. It was a friend of ours who's working with us, and she was helping us prep all of our inventory. And so we got her started doing the shoes, and then eventually we moved to a prep. We've been using a prep service now, so I do OA, and I place all my orders, send it directly to our prep service, and we've been doing that a year and a half, a little bit less than a year and a half, something like that. And yeah, it is, not only is it still profitable, it is also sanity saving. I mean, it was a lot of work, and it's totally doable. We were doing it, but it was just having a prep service in general is sanity saving if you're working out of your house. If you don't have your own warehouse or a dedicated space outside of your house to do your Amazon business, if you're going to scale your business, getting a prep center, prep service it's life-changing.
Yeah, it really is. And not just for shoes, just for
everything.
A prep center, highly recommend. April says, how do you go about setting a sales price for your shoes?
That's a good question, especially when it comes to certain child variations. You can look at this. What I try to do is I look at overall what is around an average across the variations of what that price would be. So I might be able to find a shoe variation that's a black size 11 of a shoe that's priced at $150, and I can buy it for $40 or something like that. And it's like, wow, that's amazing ROI. That's going to be spectacular when that shoe sells. But then if you look at all the other variations, they're all selling for around $60. I tend to not go for the outliers. There's times when I might, but overall, and some people, that's their business model and they make a lot of money off of that. The people who have those uncommon sizes of shoes that they're looking for, they're willing to pay a premium because they can't find a size 12 in the store, and so they're willing to pay a premium to get them online. But in general, I've found I tend to buy the more common sizes, and I price competitively. I try to price around what everybody else is priced at, because I've just found that it sells quicker than if I price it up really, really high, hoping that somebody's going to come along and want to buy it at a premium. So I base it off of you know, how can I get a good ROI but still remain priced competitively in order to get a sale? And as far as repricing goes, in general, I don't do a whole lot of repricing with shoes compared to what we do with other types of inventory, because I buy shoes that don't have as many competitors. And so I'm looking for shoes that aren't going to vary in price. And, you know, there might be times where I need to like lower my price by 50 cents or $1 and kind of tinker with it here and there. But overall, I really like to buy shoes that I can just set it and forget it as far as the price goes.
Someone asked, will this model work in rural, it's hard for me to say that, rural areas?
If you are doing OA and sending it to a prep center, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't do any RA. We live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so if I wanted to do RA and drive around, you know, in a 100-mile radius, I could probably make a killing doing retail arbitrage with shoes. I just am not interested in doing that. And I have just, for me, I found that I really enjoy OA a lot better. So I could do this anywhere out of the country, anywhere that you can have, you know, Wi-Fi and send your stuff to a prep center. You can do this.
Yep.
But if you're in a large area and you enjoy retail arbitrage, you know, you can make a lot of money off of doing retail arbitrage with shoes. There are people that you know, sell $1 million in shoes a year.
Yep. And in fact, there's one person who gave a testimonial for the Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes. She's a 6-figure shoe seller, and she does all retail arbitrage. And so, you know, it's definitely possible both ways, retail and online arbitrage. Anne asks, everything I read says shoes have to be in the original box. What do you do with shoes that don't come in a box, like Crocs, flip-flops, sandals?
That's a good question. And we sell Crocs and, you know, slippers. Basically, the rule is if it comes in a box, send it in its box. But if it's a pair of shoes that, if you were to walk into a shoe store and you wouldn't find it in a box and a customer wouldn't expect to find it in a box, you would just send it in a poly bag. Now, Crocs tend to come in their own branded poly bags. And so, you know, you're going to want to keep them in that. And if they don't come in a branded poly bag, a lot of times they come with a little branded hanger, a little plastic hanger. So, you know, just make sure that you've got all your tags, you've got your UPC code, UPC sticker and everything, and make sure they're poly bagged. But we've sold slippers, flip-flops, you know, kind of those cheaper plastic sandals, Crocs, those kinds of things that don't come in a shoebox. It's fine to send them in as long as you have the UPC on them and they are poly bagged so that the shoe is protected in the warehouse.
Yep, definitely. Kyle says, how long does it take to sell an average shoe?
That's a hard question to answer. I have some shoes, like I said, that I'm the only seller on them, and as soon as it hits the warehouse, they sell. If it's a low rank, popular shoe, you know, common size, common color, and nobody else is selling that variation, and I somehow found it and am able to send it into the warehouse, they can sell as soon as they get there. Then I have other shoes that could sit there for 6 months. It just really depends. I don't know what our average is, but it is, in general, shoes are more of a long tail item. They don't have to be, and there's ways to get around only having long tail shoes, but they do tend to stay in the warehouse a little bit longer than other inventory items. And so I'm trying to think, because I've been working with our, you know, looking at with our IPI and looking at our days in inventory and whatnot. And I think overall, with all of our inventory right now, I think everything we have is under 9 months for sure. I don't think it's under 6 months though.
Okay.
Everything we have is under 9 months.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. So everything that we have at Amazon right now has been there less than 9 months.
Less than 9 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, and that's, you know, including shoes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to know. Everybody's inventory is different, and everybody kind of manages their inventory differently. But
right. And so the stuff that's been there for 6 months averages out a lot with the stuff that sells the moment it gets there. So, you know, it's you know, yeah, averages.
Yeah.
So, well, it's been an hour and a half since we started this. I want to honor your time and say thank you for joining us. I want to remind everybody, the Reseller's Guide to Selling Shoes, right now the biggest coupon code that has ever been out there. Coupon code SHOES25 can save you $25 off the cost. fulltimefba.com/selling shoes. We walk you through retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, what to look for in a good shoe, different places that you can purchase shoes, all sorts of different strategies when it comes to selling shoes, how to overcome particular challenges, like if you order from an online source and it arrives damaged, what you can do, multiple strategies on how to handle shoes that are not sellable anymore for Amazon so that you can still sell them to make good money. So much wisdom packed into a 100-page ebook, 4.5 hours of video content, and plenty of bonus modules. But fulltimefba.com/selling shoes, coupon code SHOES25 will save you $25 off of the cost of the course. And again, 60-day money-back guarantee means you have nothing to lose. It is a limited time coupon code, so be sure you take advantage of that soon before the time runs out. Well, speaking of time running out, that's it for us. We will see you again on the next webinar. Be sure you subscribe to fulltimefba.com so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming blog posts, free training videos, upcoming free webinars, coupon codes, plenty of stuff that we dish out almost every single week to you to help you get closer to making a full-time income, spending only part-time hours on Amazon. I'm going to end the webinar recording. For those of you who missed part of it, you'll get a replay tomorrow. And for those of you who are watching the replay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.